What is rugby actually teaching the boys for future life?
That's one thing that I love about rugby. It always gives back.
Do you think people underestimate how powerful schoolboy rugby is?
Some days you're actually looking at more attendance than some of the URC games.
There's this idea, if you're not in the first team, it's over. How false is that?
Oh, it's very false. If you are talented enough, you will rise to the top.
Is hunger more important than talent?
I know plenty talented kids that gave up sport, and the hungry kids became the professionals.
What is your background?
I come from a professional playing background.
What teams have you played for?
It was a long rugby career.
Do you think rugby gives the boys an outlet for things like stress, anger?
I do think so.
What's the school doing to help the boys deal with failure?
We're trying to get professionals involved to help these kids.
What's a hard lesson that rugby teaches you that later life reinforces?
Discipline.
If rugby was taken away tomorrow, what would you hope these boys still have?
Family.
What's up, everyone? We're still South Africa's #1 health and wellness podcast. And today we're going back to the schools. I have Dustin. Is it Hoffman or Hoffman?
So I suppose whether you're coming from an English or Afrikaans family, but come from an English family, so Dustin Hoffman, yes.
Dustin Hoffman. He is director of rugby at Trinity House, Rampart Ridge, a school that's close to my heart for two reasons. Both my sons go there, and my daughter actually went to it. But yeah, and we've got Dustin here today, and we're going to chat rugby, schoolboy rugby. Dustin, thanks, bud. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for the invite.
So schoolboy rugby, I had C.S. Duplessis on the show, and we spoke about schools and sport, and how schoolboy rugby is actually shaping the future. That it's not just a sport anymore. It's actually shaping the future of South African sport, South African rugby. We were chatting if the soccer was on the rugby level, we would have a great national soccer team. Do you think people underestimate how powerful schoolboy rugby is?
Most definitely. I mean, if you look at a Paul Boys derby, some days you're actually looking at more attendance than some of the big URC games.
What is rugby actually teaching the boys if you zoom out for future life?
That's one thing that I love about rugby. It always gives back. And if I think about what it's given me, it's taught me discipline. It's taught me how to work with people. It's taught me life skills in general. So from a coaching perspective, that's one of the things that I like most about rugby is it's teaching boys to, in various ways, to become young men, because we don't have the army anymore. We don't have that type of stuff where people are investing in programs like that. So I think it's actually a nice way to develop young minds.
What is your background?
I've been very fortunate to come from a professional playing background and been able to coach for many years, coached locally as well as overseas. So I've always somehow been involved in rugby.
What teams have you played for?
I've played at the Lions. I've played overseas a little bit. We can go into that a little bit later, but it was a long rugby career, and it's now my time to give back to the boys.
Lions, eh? What position?
I played loose forward, which was quite lekker, but some days doubled up as a lock and stuff like that wherever need be.
Yes, could the guys lift you?
Well, a lot lighter back then.
I don't know if you guys can see the size of Dustin, and he's got the length. Smaller schools. Trinity House, Rampart Ridge is a smaller school compared to your St. Stithians, Paul Boys, Cares, St. John's, etc. Do you think that they are actually better environments for growth for the boys?
It's an interesting question. I think I don't think growth is different to a big environment to a small environment. I think there's a lot of different aspects to different environments, and different environments give you different things. What I do think is good out of a small environment from a learning perspective is the kids get more academic excellence and are looked after in a classroom a lot better. If I look at our first team results from 2025 from an academic perspective, out of a squad of 27, we had over 40 distinctions in the national education.
Wow. Sure. So it's not just, those days are over. When I was at school, the guys that were good at sport weren't good at academics.
Yeah, and I think it's also important because if you look where varsities have gone from a varsity cup level, if you're not maintaining a certain aggregate and passing your subjects, you can't play varsity cup. And so from Trinity's side, it's quite sought after from like Stellenbosch, Tikkies, all those players, just because they know that if they are good enough from a sporting background, they're not going to have to look after them from an academic background. So there's no chasing kids. Are you on par? Have you done your assignments? They at that level from a schoolboy level already.
That's amazing. So Trinity is a primary school and a high school. You guys start molding the boys from young, from primary school level. What are parents getting wrong about talent development that we should know?
If I look at my playing background, I didn't always start in an A team and stuff like that. And I think kids and parents give up too easy. Oh, my child isn't talented enough, he's too small. I remember myself in schoolboy rugby, I started off actually in the back line because I was a small kid. Through a lot of work and obviously genes kicked in and stuff like that. And then you start growing. But a lot of parents maybe get it wrong and don't give it the chance that it deserves because, one, I'm scared of the boys being hurt because they're small. Or, you know what, he's just not good enough. He's not going to get to the top. Whereas if I look from a talent development perspective, there's a lot of kids that once they have the rugby aptitude, skills can be learned. That's why it's a skill.
Yeah. I've got a 6-year-old who started as a drugger kids. It didn't go down that well, Dustin. He was skipping at the back of the field while the other boys were tackling. And I just actually felt, we went to this game. And I felt, you could see the different levels. And I'm not too sure if it's me that's gone wrong as a parent. And not wrong, but I'm saying where we haven't brought him up, like, he has a rugby ball when you come out of your mom's womb. You can see the difference between him and an Afrikaans kid. Afrikaans kids are tackling, he's skipping at the back. I don't know.
I think there's not a lot of, or it's slowly changing, but not a lot of English primary schools play rugby from the word go.
Yeah.
Whereas from an Afrikaans perspective, we shouldn't be comparing Afrikaans kid to an English kid.
Unfortunately, we do.
Unfortunately. But long and short, there's somewhere where the two peaks meet and their pathways cross type of thing, and the skills side catches up. You can, yes, you might be more physical and stuff like that, but with the right amount of coaching, the right amount of development and understanding, hard work always beats talent when talent doesn't work.
So what would you say to a dad whose boy is like Cairo, my son? Like, he's not looking like he's going to be a rugby player. Played his first cricket game 2 days ago, actually. That amazing. He looks like he could be a cricket player. But, what would you say? Like, just keep saying, let's go to practice.
Yeah, I think if I look at my two sons, I'm very blessed to have a 5-year-old currently and a 3-year-old. Do I know if they're going to play rugby? I don't. Would I love them to play rugby?
Of
yes. But at the end of the day, it's their decision. And it's just about encouragement, I suppose. And keeping them invested in it and not giving up. It's not about what the sport is, but more about you've started something. Why don't you see it through for the rest of the year? If you don't like it at the end of the year, we can look at something else. And maybe through that, you find that you're a lot tougher than what you actually are from a mental perspective. And maybe you do find rugby isn't your sport. And like your kid, Cairo, has a talent for cricket. That's also okay. But I do feel, coming back to my two boys, I do feel it's important to play a team sport as well as individual. And I've said to both my boys as well, should you not enjoy sport, It's also okay to compete in a C team or a D team, just to get those skills that we were talking about earlier, life skills and stuff like that, and then go do culture. That also helps you along the way from a debating perspective, from chess, developing young minds and stuff like that. So
Correct.
it's not all about rugby. It's at the end of the day, it's what's best for the child.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of subscribers who are going to disagree with it's not all about rugby. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm glad
sorry,
you
just on that. I hear what you're saying, and for those subscribers, good people or good children are good rugby players. So at the end of the day, you want someone that's coachable, someone that is willing to learn and stuff like that. So I think that's more important for those parents to realize, am I all for rugby? Yes. But we're first about developing those good people, because those good people become good rugby players.
Discipline.
I think so, yes.
So I like that you brought up B, C, D team, whatever it is, because there's this idea, if you're not in the first team, it's over. How false is that?
Oh, it's very false. So many kids, going back in Springbok records, look at Brian Abana. Brian Abana started in the C team, D team, and just through hard work, he eventually got all the way to the top. Piers Spies didn't start in an A team. I think of Bakkies Botha. Bakkies Botha was playing as a fullback at one stage, but he just didn't give up, and with the right coaching, he was convinced to go into a different position. And through the Afrikaners will say, I know is wen. And he just kept on trying, and all of them rose to the top. So no, I don't believe it's important to play A team or first team, or if you are talented enough, you will rise to the top.
What separates a second team player who makes it from one who fades away?
Mentality. And the drive to be better. Anyone can be the best in whatever they choose to be, if they've got enough passion for it, and enough will to get there themselves.
Is hunger more important than talent?
Talent always plays a huge role, but I know plenty talented kids that gave up sport, and the hungry kids became the professionals.
Yeah. It's interesting because you feel, I remember being at school and you in the second team or the third team, and you feel like, I'm not going to make it, I'm not that good. Maybe the coach doesn't like you, I don't know.
Speaking from a totally different school, I'm not going to mention the school's name, but from a big Afrikaans school, there's a lot of kids that were playing second team rugby over there that became Craven Week players and Academy Week players and went on further. So no, I don't believe it's so much what team you're playing in at that moment. One can always better your life.
So how do you keep that second team player mentally locked in? Because the spotlight's not on him. He's not the captain of the first team. He's not on the lock. He's probably not allowed in the first team dressing rooms. So how do you keep, if you know there's a talented player, he's just not there, there's something missing, you got to keep him locked in. What do you guys do as coaches?
I think I know you're a runner. It's coming back to something like that. Why do you run all the time? Even after a bad run, is because you actually enjoy what you're doing. So I think the main thing is actually enjoyment. If the kid is enjoying himself, it's not about all the wins at the end of the day. Do we want to win? Yes, everybody wants to win. But if you're enjoying yourself with something, it just keeps you coming back for more. I use golf as an example. I'm probably a terrible golfer. Hit one really good shot, and that one good shot makes me come back the week afterwards, because I don't remember all the bad shots as a bad golfer. I just remember that one good shot.
You need to teach me how to forget those bad shots, please, because I don't remember the good shots. Maybe I don't have any. I want to talk a bit about pressure, because I found that we also had an episode with JP Boys, and we spoke to a few of their boys and had them on the podcast and spoke about mental pressure, etc. How much pressure are the schoolboys under compared to when we were in school 10, 20 years ago?
Yeah, I think at your top boys schools and stuff like that, and especially your top 20 rugby schools, there's pressure everywhere. Is there pressure at the smaller schools? Yes, but everything is graded. Yes, you have less people coming to watch those games and stuff like that. There's different types of pressure, and it's, at the end of the day, it's not about what level you're playing at, but more about how you mentally handle the pressure as an individual. And should you not be handling it well, it's okay to go seek help. There's plenty of people that are qualified to, from a sports psychologist to a teacher, to help you balance that pressure and find the love for the game and focus on different things, not the things that are pressuring you, but the reason why you actually started playing the sport.
Do you think rugby gives the boys an outlet for things like stress, anger, emotion?
I do think so, but at the same time, I think that's sport in general. Why do runners run? I think a lot of them I look at one of my family members took up running because of going through something traumatic in her life, and is now a really successful in what she does. And it all came from just doing what she, finding a channel to let out those the pressures, the traumas that she had been through.
Yeah, if she's running, there's a lot of time to unpack files.
Don't know how you guys do it.
So, schoolboy, these boys are taking rugby very seriously. It's all sport, actually. But we had to talk about rugby today. They take the rugby very seriously. What happens when he makes that his whole identity? Isn't that a dangerous place to be in as well?
I think it can be. Looking at when I was playing back professional type of thing, you do base a lot of, I'm Dustin Hoffman, the rugby player, not Dustin Hoffman, the husband, the father.
The kid that goes to Trinity.
Correct. So it can be a dangerous place. And again, it comes down to, I think, having the right people around you. And one thing that used to help with me was family, because my family would ground me again. And then from being up here in the clouds, okay, I've got to be based again. So to have the right people around you is very important at a high level as well as at a schoolboy level.
What's the school doing to help the boys deal with failure? Losses, wins?
So we try as coaches on let's say we played on a Saturday. From our side, we'll sit on a Monday and try and decompartmentalize, but try and unpack what happened on a weekend type of thing, and sort out from, was it a team problem, was it a coaching problem, was it an individual problem, and not to just point it out, but how do we correct it from there. So I think we are doing stuff like that to try and help the kids. We've been talking now to a sports psychologist. How can we get her involved on a weekly basis to address these problems and start off in a team environment, because it's easier to do something in a group and it's more seen as acceptable, because I mean, even when it came out in rugby, there's a lot of depression and stuff like that from a senior level. Once you've finished rugby, who am I then? With working through young kids and actually making them understand stuff like that right now, I think it can benefit them in the future. So that's something that we've got done at Trinity, where we're trying to get professionals involved to help these kids.
Yeah, I think it's very important. And like you said, like you've got this identity at school, and then you leave school and you go to varsity and you're not the main man anymore. It's almost like when you go from grade 7 to grade 8. Do I have it right? Standard 5, standard 6, yeah.
Isn't that life?
Yeah, and you're not this main man anymore. You got to deal, but that's pressure you got to deal with.
100%.
And I think at 18 years old, and you're making these kids deal with that pressure. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Trinity.
Okay.
There's some stars that come from Trinity. and I want to bring that up because I want people to understand that you don't need to be at a Paul Boys. You don't need to be at Cares or St. John's or Hilton or Michael House to be a Springbok or to play for Scotland.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit. Who comes from Trinity?
Yeah, so take nothing away from those schools that you've just mentioned now. They run fantastic programs. We've been very fortunate at Trinity. We do have a couple professional players that have come through. One of the main guys being who started in the primary school and finished in the high school is Kyle Steyn. Interesting story, Kyle Steyn's father is actually was Mandela's bodyguard as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so nice bit of tradition that comes from that. Rory, Carl's dad, comes and supports the school on a regular basis still.
Okay.
Carl comes through to the school on a regular basis still and does some training whenever he's in South Africa. So to answer your question, it doesn't matter what school you're in. I do believe you can, if you're good enough and through the right coaching and through the right talent identification, you can come out of a small school and make it as a big professional in rugby.
Well, Kyle is proof of that.
Correct.
Why did we lose Kyle? I don't actually know the background. What happened there?
So I think after school, he was part of the setups. He then went to play at Griquas, and the coach from Griquas eventually became the coach in Scotland at Glasgow Warriors. And he pulled Kyle across from
Okay,
that.
is that what happened?
Correct.
So it's not like we weren't going to pick him.
We're very blessed in SA with lots of talent,
Yeah.
And it's not to say Kyle wouldn't have made it, but I mean it's like any job. When a door opens for you, you weigh up the options and you got to take those shots.
When you look at someone like Kyle Steyn, what stands out about his journey?
I think for me, the nice thing and what we wanted to talk about a little bit today is that small schools can make it. And that stands out for me. It's you don't have to necessarily go to the biggest school if the rugby program or the sports program is being run correctly and they have involvement in bigger things like with a Craven Week, with Academy Weeks, Grand Como, academies, all that type of stuff. It can be done.
Was Kyle always the best at school, or was it something else?
Well, if you go through the records and stuff like that, you see he did score a lot of tries and he was doing well. So I do think he stood out. And the nice thing about Kyle being in a smaller school as well, sure, he would have stood out at a big school, I believe. But coming from a smaller school, you stand out so much more. So you're almost the big fish in a small pond instead of the small fish in a big pond.
What lessons can current Trinity boys learn from Kyle's journey or his path that he's taken?
I think it doesn't matter where you come from in life. If you have the will, you can make it with the right opportunities. And I think something that stands out for me with Kyle, I mean, he just went through a major injury and he's back on the field again. He keeps on working. No matter how hard life knocks him, the game knocks him, he keeps on working and gets up again. So I think if boys had to take something out of his book out of his page, it would definitely be life is going to knock you down. Get up and start working to build yourself up one more time.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's powerful. Just to get up. So Trinity House is doing wonderful things. I know it. My kids are in the school. What are they doing different to other schools?
I think I can't speak for what other schools are doing, but from what we're doing, we're focusing a lot on education. And I'll bring it up again from a first team perspective. Out of the first team boys that played rugby last year, we had over 40 distinctions. So rugby is not the be-all and end-all of life. Yes, everybody wants to do it, but I think the stats at the moment are 0.02% to become a Springbok out of school rugby. So it's a really tough route. But if you're getting a good education, which Trinity, I believe, are giving the kids, it opens up other avenues for you to succeed in life. There's a lot more than just, even though I believe rugby for me is a lot and it's given me so much, there's other things that are important too in life.
Yeah. Do you think, I'm going to put you on the spot, yeah, I think. Smarter players, do they make smarter decisions on the field? Would you say academics? So let's get smart. Do we make smart decisions?
Yeah, I think the smarter players, you need them both. Rugby's a game for everyone. And I think trying to change the laws to suit certain things is not always a great thing, because rugby has always been a game. If you're big, you're small, you're smart, you're not so smart, there's a place for you in that team.
Well, there's some Springboks who have gone against that, so, aka Cheslin and Colby.
100%. And at the end of the day, do you need the smart ones? Yes, you do. You need to run at the tree's branches and not necessarily at the tree trunk.
I love that.
But at the same time, you also want that hard player that's got the mentality of, I'm going to run right over you. So he's running straight into the tree trunk instead of at the branches.
Because there's a bit of a mixture there.
Correct.
How do you sell the idea to boys that rugby isn't the only path? I was 18. I was 17, 16. I obviously thought I'm going to be a Springbok or a pro-tier cricket player. And you have these dreams as a kid growing up in high school. And yeah, life obviously teaches you very quickly. But you know, I think the boys should be ready. I mean, the world has changed from when we were kids. With everything that's going on with mental health, etc., and depression and anxiety, all of that. It's just a different level at the moment.
I think to let them know that it's a very, like you say, it's a very different world out there, and it's okay not to be the Springbok and stuff like that. But with competitions like the Varsity Cup out there, it's quite nice. To play Varsity Cup, you need to get a university exemption or entrance. So it comes back to the academics being really, really important. And as stats would show it, pretty much most of the kids that are really talented or driven from a Varsity Cup perspective, once they've got out of school and got into that system, they've made it to a Springbok level. So for me, it's not so much about dealing with those issues at school, but putting them on the right path, that they can carry on their dreams type of thing.
How are Trinity coaches balancing performance and the personal growth?
Good question. At the moment, we want the players to express. We obviously have game plans and things that we work towards, but at the same time, we want the individuals to express their natural talent on the field. So we have a structure that we like to play towards, but God has given all these boys a talent. Or Sways de Brain would always say a circus act. Use your circus act and impress people through your circus act.
I like it. Potty tricks on the field. A Trinity boy, what makes him recognizable off the field?
I think one thing for me that stands out is that they are always well-mannered in the environment that I've been in. And again, off the field, academics plays a huge role. And that's what I love about Trinity's rugby is it's not all about the rugby at the end of the day. It's about a holistic approach, how we are going to get a well-rounded kid out the school and not just a rugby player. So his identity is, I'm a good person that is successful, not I'm a rugby player that is going to become a Springbok.
So I want to touch on the business side of schoolboy rugby, because it has turned into that. Buying players, selling players. At what point does it stop being about rugby? That's just a game and start becoming a business.
I've heard like some news actually this morning about one of the schools that we play this year that's gone and bought from a first team perspective, I think 6 or 7 new players. I understand that rugby's become a professional game and stuff like that. But are you really nurturing talent or doing the right thing by the kids by giving them a scholarship in their matric year or their grade 11 year? In my opinion, yes, it is a business, but it's at the end of the day, it's more about the kid. We want the kid to succeed. So from a Trinity perspective, we're not looking at acquiring players at that level. And when we do look at the kids from a younger level, we take into account their academic records, who they are as people, and then we look at what their sporting caliber is.
Does it become dangerous when you have contracts and hype and scholarships, whatever we call it here in South Africa, like when that all enters the school system? Aren't we, like, what I'm trying to get to, Dustin, is like, if I'm basically paying you to come to the school, are we not doing that too early for the kids? I know parents love it because you don't have to pay school fees or whatever. I've got a talented kid, lekker. But it's almost like he's getting a contract already, and at such an early stage on in his life. Is that not going to be dangerous for later on?
I think, to answer your question, yes, it can become very dangerous because the kid then becomes an identity and not a person. So yes, it can be. But if managed in the correct way and done in the right way from the grassroots level up, we are also at Trinity assisting kids from disadvantaged backgrounds. And at the end of the day, they come through the system. Are they good sportsmen? Yes, they are. But they are there actually because we're trying to better their lives as well, break the mold of their family where the parents have come, the parents might not be well off enough to afford a school like Trinity. But we would like to provide those kids with the same opportunities as the kid that can pay the school fees.
Yeah, I think it's just, and I'm now talking about bigger schools, where there's no one in particular, but you you hear the stories, and it's almost like the boys are getting treated like assets, and I guess they are an asset of the school.
Yes,
I mean, you win the league. You're I guess.
I hear what you're saying from an asset perspective. It's like because sports has become professional, and you acquire the talent, a talented kid, he does become an asset to the school. And at the end of the day, without mentioning any names from other schools and stuff like that, you can actually think of kids that have come through the system. Everybody is aware of who their child is, how he's playing, what he's doing and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, it becomes a marketing thing for the school because, and I'm sure there's a lot of pressure on the boys, and I hope those schools are handling it correctly by giving him the necessary support that he needs because he's just become famous overnight type of thing.
Yeah, that is a problem too.
So it's always going to happen when there's media around. It's unfortunately the name of the game. If marketing and stuff like that comes in, there's always a face of an advert. There's always a person involved. But it's about keeping them humble, grounded, and disciplined at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I really hope, and not any school in particular, all the schools actually see that, and they protect these boys. Correct. From a mental stability.
Correct.
Because, I mean, how many kids have really tasted failure in their lives when they're coming through the high school? No, none of them. And then something happens, and it's this big letdown for him. It's almost like trauma.
Yeah, and I think if the correct things are put into place, and there is support systems for a kid like that, but we're touching very much on the negative over here. There's so many positive stories that have come out of it, where a different child has been, an international career has been made open and doors open for him in other places because of social media, because of your traditional forms of media. So it's, at the end of the day, I think it's just about keeping that boy grounded and actually putting the right things in place by the child, not so much by the school.
How much responsibility do the parents have for this? Because I think parents need to be trained on this too. If you've got this child that's now this great star, I mean, how am I going to react as a parent? I think that's also where the parents need some training on this.
Yeah, I think, and there are people that provide services like that, but I don't think it's actually a great analogy that you've put out there, because I think a lot of attention is given towards that kid. Who's helping the parents? It's actually, I think, And I would hope that there's a lot of schools that when they provide these type of services for the player, that the parents can be involved in it as well, because there's a lot of change in the home. Think of a boy going off to hostel. He's been in a school all his life, gets a bursary and moves across to a different town, different country. I think that puts a lot of strain on the parents as well.
Yeah. Don't take my kids. Okay, so you've had an amazing rugby career. Did it start already at the primary school level?
No, I actually think I was very fortunate to come out of a home where my dad played provincial rugby from a young age. My dad never ever forced me to play.
Who did he play for?
He played for Border and a little bit for Transvaal as well.
Okay. That's when last I heard that name, Border.
Yeah.
How was this?
So yeah, he came out of Selborne, and it was actually nice to go there a little while ago. And
South Coast, Selborne.
East London.
East London, Selborne. Okay.
Correct. So it was nice to go back there the other day and actually go with him to they had their Golden Jubilee, and actually see all the tradition at the school and the things going on there and stuff like that. But yeah, coming back to the story is my dad never ever pressured me into playing a sport. And I started off actually, funny enough, where I was playing in a C team, and just through drive and wanting to better myself, not my dad ever forcing me to do anything. I always had access to knowledge that my dad had, but never forced into directions. So I've been very blessed to actually get better and keep going. And then there was a lot of kids that were a lot more talented that didn't make it. But it's, in my opinion, they didn't have the drive to
hunger
to
again.
Yes.
Yeah. Persistent. And then you left high school, went to university. Well, what I'm trying to look for you is the roadmap. The roadmap to a professional career.
So I did leave high school, went to university, was noticed over there, also went through the club system, and someone else was scouted and was actually asked to be watched that day. And it just so happened that the talent scout noticed me and started conversations after that.
Okay, so he was there for someone else.
Correct.
That's awesome.
Correct.
See, these are the things we need to hear. The boys need to know there's hope. There's always hope. Someone's always watching.
100%.
So if you could tell young players one uncomfortable truth about going pro, what would it be?
It's not easy. It's not always fun. Mentally, there's going to be days where you're down in the dump. And one thing that I found was basing myself with good friends, and stabilizing yourself around family. And that was because I had those aspects. I think it was easier, but boys, it's not easy. It looks all beautiful and moonshine and roses. It's not like that. It's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of disappointment. There's a lot of heartbreak that goes into it. But at the end, it said it earlier, it comes about picking yourself up and trying one more time.
You said you were around a lot of good friends. How much sacrifices did you have to put in? Things like friendships, family time, friendship time.
It became tough, and now I do enjoy a good beer. But back then, as a youngster, I actually had to give up alcohol. And I just decided, not because I wanted to do it, but it was necessary to get to the next level. And I'm not saying that that's everybody's route. But where I found myself, I was going out and partying a lot and doing all the wrong things for becoming a professional sportsman. As a friend, I was doing everything right. But as a sportsman, I was doing everything wrong. And I had to make those sacrifices. And at the end of the day, I did lose a lot of friends along the way. But looking back, those were not necessarily always the right friends.
They were definitely not true friends if you lost them.
Correct. And looking back now, the guys that were always there for you are still here to this day. Those are the guys that ended up being at my wedding and doing all the things that we still do, having a bra, having a beer together and stuff like that.
What's a hard lesson that rugby teaches you that later life reinforces?
I would say discipline, because to make sure that you're on time, I try and install that with the boys at the moment. So we're in our pre-season training at the moment, which we're doing at the mornings. Is it tough? Is it tough for the parents? Yes, because we get there we start promptly at 6 a.m. and we're tough on the boys that are 2 minutes past 6, 6 minutes past 6. You're late. So one thing that I've learned is time is very important, because my time is not more important than anyone else's time. So it comes back to that discipline. It's something that I will always carry with me in my life, and even want to pass on to my family, my boys one day.
How do you handle, now that you talk about discipline, how do you handle a boy? He's the most talented, let's say, hypothetically, the best rugby player in the school, but he's not disciplined. How do you handle boys like that? Because I'm sure there are some of them.
No, you know what? There's lots of them, and
I mean, they're youngsters.
100%. It's just being an adolescent, but it's about trying to show them the right things. And one thing that I try and do, I don't always get it right, but like, let's say from a time perspective, if I expect them to be there at 6 a.m., I've got to be there at 5:45, 5:30. So it's almost like leading by example. It's not forcing it down their throats, but being there early shows them that if I'm committed, surely they can be committed as well. So I think it's about being the lantern out there, the light out there, and showing them that this is what we would like to strive towards.
So I noticed these boys, like you said, are starting at 6 a.m. training, which is crazy. In the sense of, when I look back, we only played school, we only did sports in the afternoons. How's that affecting the boys during the day? Are they not tired?
So we've been very fortunate. One of our sponsors is not a supplement company, but a vitamin company. Okay. So what we're trying to do is also assist the boys by getting the right nutrition during the day, fueling them right before they start the day. So we'll, for instance, have our training session, let them hit the showers afterwards type of thing, and make sure that they're starting the day right from a nutritional aspect. Okay, that's awesome, man. It's nice to have those sponsors. Yeah. We shout out to all our partners and sponsors that make things happen. What is a typical, what are the boys doing during the day? Are they eating the gym? How many hours are they spending to be in a first team rugby? Even a second team boys. Okay. Yeah, let me not say in the Trinity rugby team, what does a day look like? So obviously, being a pre-season at the moment, we're doing a lot of our training in the mornings to free the kids up to have a full day worth of school. And there's sports that are in season at the moment. So a typical day for the rugby player would be getting to school at 5:45. By 6 o'clock, we're on the training field. We're training till about 7:10. So it's a quick session. It's a lot to do with fitness at the moment, and obviously with different types of anaerobic, aerobic, all that type of stuff. So we incorporate what we need to at the right blocks. Once they've finished their day, they'll hit the showers, and then it's off to class. From class, they would then, sometimes we have an afternoon session, depending on what their schedules would be. And there's some kids that are putting in some extras where they'll be joining like the rugby school. They would be going to individual sessions with coaches, working on areas that they feel aren't quite there yet, or that a coach has maybe identified. So there's always that one kid in the school, and I think it was Herschel Gibbs, which was one of those kids, if I remember correctly. The kid who is good at cricket, who's good at swimming, who's good at rugby, who's good at everything. How does that balance? Like, yes, you can see he's just a little bit better in rugby than what he is at cricket, but cricket might be his thing. Now, how do you balance that? So the nice thing at Trinity is Trinity encourages that. We don't necessarily want everyone to focus on one sport and only train in that sport. There's a lot more to life than just rugby or just hockey or just cricket. Yes, if they are going to be the next Herschel Gibbs, then obviously that's where they need to go. But at the end of the day, we had a kid this week come to the sports offices, and he had planned out on his own, not because we asked him, he had planned out his whole year, a yearly calendar, day for day, and said, this is when my cycle tests are, this is when I have this sport on. And the reason why he did this, because he actually wants to play hockey and rugby at the same time. So we had to come to an arrangement and say, okay, you can do hockey training 2 times a week and play 2 hockey matches in a week, because it's less, I've got to be careful what I say with the hockey coaches, but less physical or less contact on the body than rugby. And then we've said to him, let's accommodate you, and you can attend one team session in a week. And then,
sorry about that. I was choking on my water.
One team session in a week, and then the game on the weekend, and then the coaches, whenever he has open blocks of 10 or 15 minutes where they can work on individual skills with him.
Okay. Wow. Kids are built differently these days, eh?
100%.
I would have never
Wasn't like
made
that.
a schedule for the upcoming week. I battle still to make a schedule for the upcoming week.
But I think that's what it demands to become these days a top sportsman, or not even a top sportsman, a top child in the school system. Because there's so many moving parts that are going on, and so many different sports, so many after-hour extramurals. It's all about balance at the end of the day.
What legacy are you hoping your coaches and Trinity leave in these boys' lives when they leave?
I always say you've done your job correctly if you're walking in a shopping center afterwards and it's just a random person, or what you think is a random person, comes up to you and is like, Coach, hello, I need to say thank you because you coached me when I was under 14 or something like that. So it's not about building the next Springbok. It's about building good people that will go out into the world and pass on the same values that they've learned through whatever sport that they've contributed towards.
If rugby was taken away tomorrow, what would you hope these boys still have?
Family.
And that's where I'm going to end this. Dustin, I love that answer. I don't want you to say anything else. I was hoping for a good answer. Thank you for today.
No, thank you.
And I wish your team well this year. Go get that cup for Trinity.
Thank you.
What league are they playing in?
We not in a league this year. We've actually moved out of a league this year, and we're aiming to play more your boys' schools, traditional rugby schools type of thing. That we can actually focus on getting better as a group and playing at a higher level. Yes, it's going to be tough in the beginning, but it's actually about to play at a certain level, you need to compete at a certain level.
Okay, that's quite interesting. So you've pulled out of the league and you're going to go play the toughest schools for experience, basically.
Correct.
Wow, that's
so
quite.
We want to grow. We want to grow, and it's like anything in life. The very first time you start playing a bigger school or doing a skill that you're not used to, it's tough. But the more you expose to it, the more it just becomes part of life type of thing. Okay, I need to do this. I know how to do it. It's not as scary as there's a big kid running at you. I've tackled him before. It's okay.
Yeah, I've been tackled by that guy that size before. It's fine now.
Correct.
It wasn't that bad.
Correct. So, we're trying to move away from a league this year and actually focused a little bit more on. We've kept the traditional schools that we played in our leagues. For instance, Rand Park, it's a traditional derby day.
Yeah.
So we'll carry on playing the schools like that. But we actually very privileged this year is being a big year for Parktown. We play on their Founders Day.
Oh wow, that's
we
nice.
actually play the opening game against Parktown this year. So
Okay.
it's going to be tough. I hear they've done fantastic things. But again, it's about exposing the boys to a higher level. To get better, you need to train better.
And I think if the boys understand that, they'll understand that there's a bigger picture. No matter what the scoreline says,
Correct.
There's a bigger picture here.
Correct.
We can't be upset about the scoreline. We can't get negative. because next year we'll go back into the league and be on a different level.
Correct.
Yeah. Dustin, thank you so much for today. I
I
really
really appreciate
appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.